Hello, beloved friends. It's so good to be with you all today, and I am so excited to be able to share with you all the space of looking at symbolism and how we're really going to be breaking that down. So before we get started, I'm just going to wait for everyone to slowly come in. Debs, it's so good to have you here. Before I get started into the whole process of looking at gaining and losing power, I really want to invite the opportunity to look at the space through symbolism. And before we kind of get into the process, Debs, I would love to know from you if there is any space in terms of any areas of your life that you feel, okay, this is where I'm gaining power and this is where I'm losing power. And that is a really, really big question, is to actually start looking at our lives from where we're actually gaining and losing. And it is so important for us to actually understand what that looks like. Okay, so let me know if anything comes up for you in terms of areas that you are particularly noticing now. Yes, hands down, this is where I'm losing power. Or I definitely know that the minute I feel like I lose power, this starts to show up for me. So I invite you to just start reflecting on areas that kind of, maybe it's a specific event, it may be a specific person, it may be a situation that really shows up in terms of where we lose our power. Okay, so with that being said, it is so important, and it's interesting that it's quiet tonight. I thought that it actually might be. Lee, it is so good to have you here. And I was just explaining a little bit about starting to think about where we gain and lose power. And that is a really big question. And the invitation is to sit with it throughout this session together and really sit with Tash, it's great to have you here. So as we move forward, sit with the idea of where do I gain, where do I lose power, and what that starts to look like. And the reason that this talk has really shown up for me is that more than ever before, we have to see the world symbolically right now, because if we literally see things as black and white, that is such a disservice to who we are as spiritual beings. We have to see things symbolically. And through a lot of the Jungian work that I've been doing, and through a lot of that investigation, one of the biggest spaces is the realm of archetypes, and how archetypes play such a key space in our lives. And archetypes move from, there's hundreds of different type of archetypes that we all hold within ourselves, but it's really helpful to start looking at a collective in terms of what is happening, whether we're in a space of the rescuer, whether we're in a space of the victim, whether we're in the space of the addict. And how that is of service to us is because it gets us to see things from a different perspective and not from such a literal perspective. And that is where often the issue comes from, is seeing things literally, and that is what creates a lot of pain and a lot of suffering. So where do we even begin? Kandi Anahat, it is so good to have you here. So where do we even begin in terms of, Jenny, it's great to have you here. So where do we even begin when we say, okay, well, how do I look at things symbolically? The first step, and we can go through the archetypes deeper throughout our time together, but specifically now, the best place to start is with your body, and specifically with our energy system, with the chakras, which are vortexes of energy that are located in the spinal column. Okay, and the biggest question is, do you understand who, what, when, what makes you lose your power? So for example, in the base of our spine, okay, we're looking at the perineum, or the cervix for women. That is where we have our base chakra, Muladhara. Okay, now what is this about? This is all about our roots. This is all about our tribe. This is all about our family. Okay, everything from the waist downwards has everything to do with survival. So the first space of it has to do with our roots. You think about it, as we are standing, everything has to do with our roots. So if we are feeling unstable, or if we have insecurities around our family system, it often is located in very much the lower back area, but it has a lot to do with our tribal connections. And if we feel that our tribal connections are not okay, we often feel off of balance. We feel like things are not right. Okay, and that is a sign for our body to tell us that our roots feel unstable. So what do we do about that? Is we really have to find the stability, either by making peace with ourselves personally within the family system, or really reaching a point of acceptance and detachment, or we have to really allow ourselves to come into that space of earth, because that is what the symbol is. It's all about grounding. It's all about the earth. And as I was mentioning, in reconnecting with nature, it is so important to literally go and play in the soil, walk barefoot, do specific postures. Now, Chin or Jnana Mudra is a specific mudra. Now, mudras are basically hatha yoga of the hands. Okay, it's postures that we do with our hands. Now, Chin Mudra is when our index finger and our thumb are together and our palms are facing upwards. Okay, this is correlating to our energy system, and we've got 72,000 networks of energy running through our body. So this correlates to the external. Okay, our palms are open, we are externally receiving. Help me to connect externally. Okay, if we feel like we want to go internally and connect to ourselves internally, we do Jnana Mudra, which is our index and finger together and our palms facing downwards. We're moving internally. What is that connecting to, and why does that help with Muladhara? Because it's allowing us to root our hands literally, to provide that space. Connect me externally to the roots outside of myself, or allow me to connect to the roots internally. And just by practicing that mudra, it provides so much power. And allow yourself to investigate that. Close your eyes and feel the difference between the external and the internal, and what that brings up. And the actual animal for Muladhara, for the base of our spine, is the elephant. And the elephant represents that space of power, of strength, but most importantly, stability. So the question is that if you are feeling a lot of lower back pain, obsessive compulsive disorder, depression, a lot of that is rooted in the family system. And that is an invitation to say, okay, my body is a symbol for telling me that something is not okay. How can I learn? Hi, it's so good to have you here. I think that was Ali. And it's important to say, okay, well, what is not happening, and why am I not feeling grounded or rooted in my family system? And again, it's not about giving your power away, but it's about gaining your power. You are losing power to the system. Okay, you're losing power to your tribe. So how do you gain power in that space? And those are moving through some of those individualized processes that you can do. Because I can tell you now, if you know for yourself where you lose your power, it's a game changer. Think about this. Okay, the second part that we move up to is Swadhisthana, and I'm really touching the surface here. This is such a deep science, and the first part of it really looks at, okay, if we go into Swadhisthana is very much the coccyx, the tailbone area. All right, again, what is this connected to? Again, the lower back, and it has a lot to do with the sexual and reproductive system. Now, this is the relationship one-on-one. This is a relationship with another person, usually in a romantic space. Okay, this is your one-on-one relationship with somebody else. Now, the question here is, how do I lose my power in this space? And what really shows up is that the key places, the two main things, is rejection and abandonment. Okay, specifically abandonment, because this is the space of the womb. Okay, it's very much connected to, am I safe with regards to the other person? Is that other person going to hold me? Things like things that come up in this space are arthritis, sexual disorders, okay, sexual issues show up in this space. What else comes up in this space is a lot of fertility problems. And again, if this happens, okay, something's happening with my fertility, something's happening sexually, then relate it and say, okay, what is happening one-on-one? Do I feel safe in the relationship with the other person? What is showing up here? And this element is all about water. Okay, this is literally the fluid. Okay, and what is the animal that is moving in this water is the crocodile. And what does the crocodile represent? It represents our shatkarmas. And what are shatkarmas? Unconscious turmoil. If you think of the water, and my Swami, one of my master, actually says that when you decide to go on the path of meditation, but really sincerely, it's not about saying, cool, let's go into enlightenment. Not at all. It's about being slow, steady, and systematic. And why? Because we are literally pulling out things on an unconscious level. So it is so important to go slowly, because can you imagine you go fishing and all of a sudden you catch a shark? I think you might just have a heart attack. Now that's what we take ourselves for granted. So it's so important to go slow. So rather than trying to now all of a sudden become enlightened, that's what we think we want. But with that comes so much responsibility. Rather, just start learning, can I concentrate on a candle flame? Just on a candle? Can I focus on breathing for 5 minutes? And training your mind slowly. So the unconscious has everything to do with water. So think about that. Relationships one-on-one has a lot to do with the unconscious space. Okay, Sam, it's so good to have you here. And I'm really talking about the space of our tailbone area, which carries a lot of power in terms of our relationships with one-on-one. And so what are the spaces that show up here? As I was saying, it's arthritis, it is urinary illnesses, fertility issues, and the question is, what's happening with my partner? Am I feeling abandoned? Maybe when I was younger, there was abandonment stuff that I'm bringing in right now. So it's, how do you read things through your body? Okay, and what is the best way? What is the best thing that you can do in this space? It's all about balance. You have to balance your system. So if you are feeling, hi Dave, it's wonderful to have you here. And if you are feeling a sense of yourself that is feeling, okay, I am feeling that a lot of stuff is coming up, it's your water element. What do you do in that space? You have to balance it out. How do you do that? Is literally, you can do Bastrika, and Bastrika is the bellow breath. And what is Bastrika? Bastrika is correlated to the element of fire. So you are allowing yourself to balance the water and the fire. So Bastrika is the bellow breath. So you literally, it's equal inhale, equal exhale through your nose, and your belly is literally going, comes up, goes in. Say it, don't spray it, excuse me. So that will happen. But that is Bastrika, is being able to literally do the fire breath. So again, if you are noticing for yourself, okay, something is feeling in my relationship that it's not okay. I'm feeling not okay in my relationship space one-on-one. Go into the water element. What is happening? It's bringing up unconscious stuff. Are there abandonment things happening to myself? And noting, as I said, everything from the waist downwards is all about survival. Okay, you are trying to survive. So the responses to this is all about looking at, how do I survive the most effectively? And the sacred truth, as Caroline Mace would say in this space, is all about, how do I honor my relationship with the other person? Okay, so the first sacred truth is really about honoring the tribe. Okay, that honoring your roots, even if it's been challenging. How do you find that sense of stability within your roots? Now, the second space is about honoring the other person. How do you find that ability to honor? Okay, and it can be very difficult, especially if it's been abusive or tumultuous relationships. You look at the space of, how do I see that? How do I see that symbolically? okay, in terms of learning about myself. And it's not always easy in the beginning, but the invitation, as I said, is that we cannot see things literally right now, because that is not going to be of service to us. We have to see things in terms of what is happening in terms collectively and individually on a symbolic level. Now, when we're moving up our spine and we're looking at Manipura chakra has everything to do with our solar plexus. Now, this is the relationship with ourselves. This has everything to do with our self-esteem, with our confidence. And the question is, how do I build esteem within myself? If you know I lack confidence, I don't feel good enough within myself, that is located in your solar plexus and has everything to do with your relationship with yourself. And what is this about? This is about the fact that your solar plexus area is all about, is the center, is the storehouse of survival. So what will end up happening is that if you feel threatened, okay, you're not going to be walking around like this. You're going to be walking like this. Or if somebody's feeling threatened, they might sit like this. And why is that? Because their solar plexus, they are being challenged. Okay, if somebody had to say to you, and I love this because Caroline Myss always says, she says, in her American accent, and that's so not how she sounds, but it's okay. She says, if somebody had to say to you, oh my gosh, that dress looks terrible, it's like somebody punches you in the gut. It feels as if somebody is literally just punching you and with that judgment. And that is where, when you feel that sense of insecurity, you really start looking at doing this. And what is that action? That is about trying to protect our survival in that moment. And this is really big because in this area, which has to do with our fire, it has everything to do with eating disorders come in here. Identity plays a role. The themes that fit into this section are all about identity. Who am I? Okay. Who am I is a stage of Erik Erikson's psychological theory of adolescence. Okay, where the stage of adolescence is figuring out who am I. All right. A lot of that stage is often unresolved for many people, and the idea of identity is often not found. Okay, and that is often a lifelong idea of who actually am I in this world, and having a lot of insecurity around who you are, how you are seen in this world, what part you play. It has a lot of significance in terms of your identity and the right to belong. This is a big space. We will sacrifice ourselves to belong to something. If you notice yourself in your work environment, perhaps you wear a different type of mask to be seen differently, because you might not be seen or welcomed potentially, or maybe based on your perception, as freely as you would if you were a specific type of person. And what is the first place that it hits? It hits your solar plexus, because it's this feeling that I have to be somebody else to belong. That's jeopardizing your identity. And that's, again, a huge rejection. But where does that rejection come from? It comes from yourself. So what is the sacred truth of this center? It's all about honoring yourself. And where is what's the fundamental thing that you can start doing? One thing that you can start doing is you can start literally looking at the question, how do I esteem myself? How do I make myself feel okay? How do I make myself feel better? And it is literally looking at things like, you might just take a bubble bath and spend half an hour putting essential oils, candles, and literally having a date with yourself, or having a binge TV night. Notice for yourself, how do you build your esteem within yourself? And the most important thing to remember is that this is all about, where do we gain and lose our power? So if you have a sore stomach and your stomach is a knot and your stomach isn't okay, the question is, okay, I know it's my solar plexus. I know that something's not okay. What am I holding here? Is it the right to belong? Is it rejection? Is it my identity? Is it my confidence? Am I feeling that my survival is challenged right now? And this will be able to tell you on a symbolic level what's actually going on in a deeper level. And when you look at it that way, it doesn't make it so hard, because if you just look at it, okay, it's a stomach problem. Beautiful, I have to go for a colonoscopy and get this done and that done. That's a very basic level of looking at it. It's actually like, what is happening behind all of this? What is the theme? And that is where you start to gain your power. And Manipura chakra is behind your navel, so it's all about fire. Okay, and the sense that is associated with this is sight, and the animal that is connected to your solar plexus is the ram. And what does the ram represent? The ram represents assertiveness. Okay, the ram represents the ability to hold the space. So if you are in a situation where you are literally feeling like you have lost your power in the space, allow yourself to experiment. We all process information differently. Some of us are visual, some of us are auditory, some of us are kinesthetic learners. So if you are a visual learner, literally go and get pictures of rams and connect with that and be like, wow, what is this animal about? How can I emulate a part of this animal to help find that assertiveness and stability in that area? And each center has a space of it's not a virtue, but it's a vice. Each center has the main vice. In your Muladhara, which is your base chakra, has everything to do with fear. Okay, so again, what is happening collectively? We are in Muladhara chakra. It is so obvious. We are all, so many of us are buying into the collective fear. I saw this video of, okay, I'm not going to get into this because then I'll get started, but I saw this video of a little boy who was wearing a mask, and his mask accidentally fell off, and he literally had a panic attack in that moment, and he couldn't breathe, and he was about 8 years old, and his dad got down. He was like, what's going on? He was like, no, Dad, I'm gonna die. And he's like, what do you mean you're gonna die? And he said, well, my mask fell off, so the news said that if we don't wear our masks, we're gonna die. And I just thought to myself, what is happening? This is the fear is what is essentially going to really challenge us moving forward. So if you have to look at it, base level, what is base level all about? It's about survival. It is about the space of roots, instability. So what do? We have to find stability, looking at it very much symbolically. Okay, we're in a space of survival. We're in a space of fear. We have to move up. All right, so that's looking at things collectively as well. Where are we at? How do we move up from that? Now, Swadhisthana, the coccyx, the tailbone area, what does that represent? The coccyx tailbone area represents a space of guilt. Okay, because if you think about it, in one-on-one relationships, the narrative often has to do with guilt. Oh, I shouldn't have done that. I should have done so much better. I feel like I should have known. And it's all about guilt and often self-blame. And that is often what shows up. So if you notice, okay, there's a lot of guilt going on here. Okay, how do I move away from that? And literally go into doing Bastrika, go counteract that with the fire. Okay, in the space of looking at the solar plexus, the main kind of vice or literally demon in this space has to do with shame. Okay, shame, belonging, it's all connected. Okay, how do you allow yourself to esteem yourself? And that is where dialectical behavioral therapy can also be applicable, which is all about the psychological process of finding that wise mind, not being over rational, not being over emotional, but becoming that wise mind. How do you do that? Connect to your senses. Literally go and engage for 5 minutes to the sense of smell, and go and make yourself a cup of tea and smell the aromas. And what is that doing? You are taking your mind out there, you're pulling it back, and you're giving it to a point of concentration. Okay, and once you've allowed yourself to calm down out of that crisis mode, then you can say, okay, how do I move on from here? Okay, so those are the main aspects that move very much into the survival space. You've got your Muladhara, your Swadhisthana, and your Manipura. Those are the 3 areas of survival. Okay, now if you have to look at this from the turning point now, the turning point is when we move into the space of the heart. Okay, Anahata, the heart area, and we've got Anahata with us today, so that is really, really positive. Sammy, it is so good to have you here, and perfect timing because we're going into the heart. Okay, so that's really good for you. So, what is the heart about? The heart has everything to do with emotion, managing emotions specifically. And what is that about? The heart has everything to do with how do we manage emotion, and areas, what shows up in the heart when we feel that we are maybe being triggered or challenged. There is maybe heart attacks, literally heart attacks, heart problems. The upper back area has a lot to do with the heart. If we slouching all the time, it has a lot. We need to open up, and that's where the postures of Sarpasana, the snake, literally pulling our arms back and extending our chest forward. Doing things like that is literally expanding our heart forward. Now, the relationship we have with emotion is really important, because this has everything to do, and it's behind the sternum. The air the element that it represents is air. And what that tells us is that with emotion, we need to be able to acknowledge the emotion and be present with emotion. But just like that, we also have to allow ourselves to slowly detach and be like the air. Okay, be there, present with it, very aware of what's happening, acknowledging your emotion, which is so profound and necessary, and a fundamental, the foundation of emotional intelligence. But then it's being able to say, okay, I will observe this, and you allow yourself to say, where do I go from here? And often what happens in this area, when we lose our power in the heart, is where we come into the space of really not being able to manage our lives, not being able to hold the capacity of our own emotion. And what do we do in that space? This is where we really have to ask ourselves, how do we find the sacred truth of connecting to the divine? And that is literally the ability to be able to sit and commune with yourself. And those are the parts of really being able to be still with yourself. And that's the ability to be present. So in the morning, before you get up out of bed, just being able to sit with yourself for a moment and just observe your body sitting there. Okay, scanning your body from the tips of your toes to the top of your head, just acknowledging what is happening. Then from that space, allow yourself to literally connect to your heart. The color of the heart area is green, so make it as visual as possible. So literally close your eye and see this, close your eyes and see this green light magnifying out of your heart. You see the green light surrounding you, so you're protecting yourself, but you're allowing your heart to open and to expand. And what's the opposite of and again, our Swami says that what is the coin has two sides. What is the opposite of fear? Love. So how do we bring ourselves into a space of love? We have to oh, Sammy, it's so true. Chromotherapy, working with color, is vital. Okay, and I'll move through the colors in terms of how we can really do that. And Joe Dispenza is incredible with working with colors, and he really helps illuminate that. And there's really something to the space of chromotherapy, visualizing and being able to connect to that specific space, because it is an energy form that we have to cultivate. So rather, if you feel yourself, okay, I'm in the fear space, I'm going down, I need to bring myself up here. What would it take for you to bring yourself into your heart? Acknowledge your emotion. It's okay to feel scared or stressed or anxious. Be able to acknowledge that. Be with that. Take yourself on a walk and go then engage in the sense of smell, sight, touch, taste. Go do breathing. Go sit with yourself and visualize that green light expanding, and then bring yourself back and say, okay, what was that about? What in that situation caused me to lose power? Was it something that person said? Was it an event? Was it the media? Was it a visual? It just allows you to learn a lot about yourself in terms of, okay, when I'm in this type of situation, or when I'm with this type of personality, I'm aware that this brings up triggers. It's really about know thyself and how symbolically your body communicates with you. And all about Anahata has to do with it has to do with the space of the animal of the antelope. And it's, what does the antelope represent? The antelope is filled with swiftness. Okay, the antelope does not just, it's not an elephant. Okay, the antelope is swift, is it's alert. And what does that say about our heart, about the air? Is that we have to be able to be alert but detach. That is the foundation of love, is if we can love without being, and it sounds like such a paradox, but being able to move into a space of detaching from the space of love, because when you detach, you move from the space of expectation. And it's about learning about the narrative you have with yourself. So when you are observing yourself and saying, okay, wow, I just went into a downward spiral there with my emotion, and just say, okay, you know what, sadness, I got to work on this relationship with you. I keep really getting upset, then I get angry, and then I want to hit you. Tell me how to behave with you. And you're allowing yourself to just take yourself not so seriously, but you're learning to communicate more effectively. Okay, and then the heart then moves to the space of Vishuddhi, and wow, the throat pit, which is coming on the top of your spine, and this has everything to do with boundaries. Okay, this is your voice box. So this is about our communication in the world, and most specifically about honoring the sacred honoring of our truth. Okay, that you will observe for yourself when you feel that you are not speaking your truth, when you haven't been able to communicate effectively, when you feel that you are not able to express yourself. What happens? Okay, sore throats. It's as if we are being held hostage. It's that space of ulcers, mouth ulcers, throat. And again, rather than seeing it as, oh my gosh, I'm getting mouth ulcers, I need to go do this and this, I need to go get this, ask yourself the question, what is it that is where I'm losing power, that is causing me to not express my truth? Where am I not expressing my truth? Where am I not communicating effectively? And this is very much the sacred truth to allow yourself to really express yourself. And this has a lot to do with choice and a lot to do with boundaries. And this is where it is so powerful. If you can learn to set effective boundaries for yourself, you will observe that this space is going to open up so much. And this is, again, knowing what is okay and what is not okay for myself. Now, what is the element of Vishuddhi? Vishuddhi is the element of ether. It is that element of very much that sacred space. And in this center, in Muladhara chakra, it was the dark gray elephant. Now, in this center, this is the white elephant. This is very much a space of purity. This is the ability to speak your truth. It is the sense of being able to hear, listen. Okay, it's a sense of hearing, even though it's in your voice. You're able to hear, listen, and then you could say, okay, how do I now return to this space of truth for myself? And that's the biggest thing. If you don't know what your truth is, that's a big starting point for you. What is, because it connects to your identity, it connects to what is right and wrong, what's okay, what's not okay for you. Karen, it's so good to have you here. Okay, so it's really about learning how to open that up. Now, there are ways that you can do it. Now, for some of the yogis that are here, Vipariti Karani, being able to come onto a shoulder stand, Vipariti Karani is very powerful for working on your throat. And the white elephant is all about really purifying in that space. And then we move on. Okay, so from here we go to Agya. Okay, now Agya is the space in between our eyebrow center. Now this is the space of very much knowledge, but transferring that to the space of intuition. This is, and what is intuition? And intuition, we all have it. We are all born with it. Intuition is the voice in our head that is communicating without emotion. It's literally saying, Jean, don't go down that road tonight. No, I don't feel right about that. It's not this, don't do this. That's not your intuition. Your intuition is very clear. And it's something, and it literally speaks to you and it says, okay, that's not what you should be doing. And there is no emotion attached. It's very direct, and it is such a powerful thing to be able to learn to connect to our intuition, to really listen to that space and allow yourself to cultivate that. And the element of this has to do with the mind, because this is where our mind, it has everything to do with our mind. And what do we do in the space? How do we cultivate agya and that intuition is going into that space of presence through Tritaka, which is candle gazing. And as I've said before, how you would do it is you would place the candle in line with your eyebrow center. Okay, so you're placing it in line and you're doing it arm width apart. All right, and it would literally be sitting there in line. Then you put your hands in Chin Mudra or Gyan Mudra, which we spoke about before. Chin Mudra, creating that space of externalizing, Jnana Mudra, creating that space of internalizing. So you're literally allowing yourself to sit, candle gaze, focus on the wick of the flame, and just focus on that. And you can blink, not so much, you're not focusing on the flame, on the wick. And that again, it's bringing your mind from out here, our thoughts, into that space of that concentration. And that is how we really start training our mind to come inwards. Okay, so one pointed, that's the thing about agya, is to find that space of one pointedness. So when you lose power to knowledge, in terms of, oh my gosh, there's so much out there, how do I consume this? I don't know what to believe, I don't know what to do, I don't know where to go with this. You're losing your power to the space of knowledge, and you have to learn, okay, how do I gain my power back here? Rather than now trying to move from that logical space, go do some candle gazing, come back and say, okay, what does my intuition say? What do I want to listen to? What do I really want to believe in? What is the knowledge system that really connects with me? And that is when you'll be able to really start cultivating that space of being able to listen. And can you see how the throat, how opening up this Agya chakra is so connected? And then we've got a chakra which isn't one of the main chakras, but it is very much connected to the space of working with our whole system, and it's Bindu. Now, Bindu is stored on just behind our back of our head, okay? And it's almost like if you had to wear a low bun, that is where it would represent. And the symbol of it is a tiny dot and a moon, okay? And that is very much the representation of balance. And again, it's connecting to that space of purification, because what in the sages in India, and very much traditionally, it has to do with the pandits. Tina, it's great to have you here. It has to do with the pandits, the actual juice, the amrit that runs from your head into your mouth, and that is the space of purity. So how do we access that space? Again, doing neti pot. That is so helpful. Literally purifying your nasal passages with the warm water and sea salt specifically, and that is really helping to clear out your whole space. Again, it's all about, this whole area has everything to do, how am I losing power when it comes to the space of my voice? How am I lose power when it comes to the space of my knowledge? And this is all connected. Now, when you look at Sahasrara is on the crown of your head and extending upwards. This has everything to do, it's the 1,000-petaled lotus. It is the ability to completely detach from all and to come into that space of acceptance. So the question is not about how do I get there, but it's a question of how do I learn to accept, because the 1,000-petal lotus, which is sitting at the top of our head symbolically, has to do with the acceptance of all the colors that we've moved through. You accept the red of Muladhara chakra, the fear that we could potentially buy ourselves into. We accept going up and we go into the orange, Swadhisthana, okay, and that has everything to do with the space of guilt. I accept that I felt that in my one-on-one relationships. Moving into the solar plexus is yellow, has everything to do with your relationship with yourself. I accept that there's that space of shame and feeling like I'm not enough and I need to belong. So it's important again to look at that symbolically in terms of, is my solar plexus Is that really sore? What is that trying to communicate with me? The heart has to do with green, and then you're looking at the throat, which is blue, and you're moving into the white, indigo, and the white. Okay, and it's purifying all of those colors into that space of you can see clearly in that area. So the main fundamental question is understanding for yourself, where do I lose my power? What does my body communicate to me? When I lose my power, do I find that my jaw starts clenching? Do I start really showing that do I sit like this? Do my shoulders get really tense? Because then you start knowing, okay, it's sitting in this area, something to do with my heart, something to do with my voice. What does this represent to me? And Maslow's hierarchy of needs it fits perfectly into the system, because if you look at the 5 stages of Maslow's hierarchy of needs, the first stage is psychological. The first stage has everything to do. Do I have water? Do I have food? What is that? That's Muladhara chakra. That's your base. Okay. If I don't have that, what happens? We move into a space of fear. Okay. So it also helps you to see things differently. Okay. This is what is making sense collectively. That is what is happening. How can I respond to that fear differently? Do I want to buy into that collective, or can I make other choices that are more beneficial for me and in essence on a collective level? So that is how you can start seeing things. The next stage goes from the psychological and has everything to do with the physical, and the next stage is security, the space of, do I feel okay? Okay, so do I have a roof over my head? Do I feel safe? And this is where you start really, it becomes very transparent of our the vast tapestry of our nation, is that we can see, okay, well, I can't expect somebody. Actually, let me go through the stages. Okay, so you've got your psychological stages. Your safety and security is your next stage. You then go into the stage of love and belonging, really feeling enough, feeling secure, feeling the love, and really connecting to that space of beauty. Then it moves into that space of esteem and self-esteem, how we esteem ourselves. So it's gone from feeling love and that sense of belonging on a collective level. Then we move to that sense of, how do I esteem myself? And then we move to the space of self-actualization. But this is the catch. In terms of this model, we cannot achieve one stage if the other stage is not achieved. So for example, in order for us to move to love and belonging, we have to have our psychological needs met. So doesn't it make so much sense when you look at the tapestry of our nation, when the ideas, and to see things differently? Where is this person coming from? Where is this person speaking from? So rather than saying, I can't believe it that this homeless person is probably going to go buy this or go do this, what is the need being met? You can't expect somebody to be in their love space when they haven't even got their psychological needs, their food and water met. You can't, and you start really seeing things on a different level when you communicate with someone, and when you listening to what's on the media. Where is this person speaking from? Are they speaking from their heart? Are they speaking from a space of emotion and control, but also deep I don't want to say empathy. I would like to say reverence. Okay, are they speaking from a reverence space? Where are they speaking from? Are they communicating with us from a base of Muladhara, from fear? Are they speaking from us from Swadhisthana, this need of guilt? Are they speaking to us from a sense of shame? And you start seeing it differently, because it's no longer personal. It's no longer literal. What is it? It's symbolic. It's like, okay, I see that this is where that person's at. And it's not wrong. It's not bad. It's just where they're at. So I don't have to lower my vibration to go there. I don't have to be there. I can move to a higher vibration. I'm going to stay here, or I'm going to stay in my truth. But I can acknowledge that that person right now is in their base chakra. Cool. I can acknowledge that right now I'm in my base chakra, and actually I want to be around people that are in their heart chakra, or in their throat chakra. And the invitation is to observe. Watch how your world changes when you start learning about what makes you lose your power. How do you gain your power? Know thyself is so important. And then learning, okay, where's this person speaking from? Are they speaking from a place of fear, love, guilt, shame. And then once you can identify that, it stops becoming personal, it stops becoming about you, and it just starts becoming about, that's an interesting thing, that's an interesting point of view. Okay, and that for me has really been the biggest aha moment during this time, is that more than ever before, we have to see things symbolically. We have to see the gray, because seeing things black and white, no, it's not going to work anymore. Seeing just the blatancy of what it is, what is behind all of this, what does it represent? And that is the invitation, is to really sit with that and reflect for yourself. And throughout this time, please let me know what really comes up for you. Please share, is there any spaces that you've really shown up in terms of, this is where I lose my power? When somebody says this person makes me lose my power, it's not about, oh my gosh, I'm such a terrible person, I can't believe that. It's more about, okay, I know that that person triggers me. What is it about that person that triggers me? Is it the way they speak? Is it what they say? Is it the insecurities within myself? And it just opens a whole new view of how to see things. So please share with me any of your thoughts, any of your ideas that are coming up, any questions that you have. We've still got a little bit of time to connect. So notice what that does for the next 2 weeks. How seeing the world in this way, what comes up for you, what works, what doesn't work. But within that, do make it practical. Okay, you know you're in the space of fear. How do you combat that space of fear? You know, okay, well, let me go do DBT. Let me go do Chin or Gyana Mudra. Let me go take myself into the heart. Let me put a green light around myself. Okay, I know I'm having a lot of one-on-one relationship problems. I know that I'm in the space of feeling is that it's you feeling very financial issues, you stressing about money. That has everything to do in the Swadhisthana chakra. That has to do, that's water. How do I move out of that space of the emulating the water? How do I move into a fire space? How do I bring my energy up? And this has everything to do with the sense of abandonment. What's happening here? Am I literally losing the kind of ideal of a home that I once had? And just start seeing things in terms of what's showing up. If you're feeling like you're in Manipura chakra, your solar plexus is sore, do the boat, okay, that I did before. It's on my YouTube channel. So you literally breathe in, come up 30 centimeters off the ground, breathe out, exhale through your nose, and you just flop down. This is strengthening your solar plexus. Also aspects like Bastrika, definitely, and Shatkarmas. Shatkarmas are purification. So Neti-Pot, even though it has a lot to do with your Agya and opening up your higher chakras, and moving into, it's not about opening it up, but rather than making it rotate, allow yourself to just purify your body. Okay, Anahata, how do you get into that? Do a lot of pranayama. Pranayama, specifically Brahmari, is amazing for Anahata. Brahmari is the bee. You place your index fingers by your ear, on your earlobes, not in your ear, by your earlobes, and you literally breathe in through your nose. And again, what is it? You're focusing on the sound. Okay, it's bringing your vibration up. Go into Vishuddhi, has everything to do with boundaries. Learn about what are your boundaries, what is okay, what's not okay. Agya differentiates what is my knowledge system, what do I buy into? Do I look at the world from a very metaphysical space? Do I look in the world from very scientific? None of it's right or wrong. It just helps you clarify for yourself. Looking at the space of Bindu and Sahasrara, it's all about moving into that space of doing a lot of purification, doing a lot of Neti-Pot, okay, and focus and concentration. Do Tritaka, the candle gazing, and think about it. See, okay, how do I work with this? And just observe. That's interesting. That person really triggered me. Where did it sit for me? You know, it actually got me in my shoulders. Okay, what is that telling you? So if you've got anything to share, please let me know. I can stick around for a little bit longer. But the invitation is to really start overall, if the lesson, start seeing things symbolically. Move out of the space of literal, because literally makes you lose your power. So I want to say again thank you so much for sharing your evening with me. It's always such a gift to be able to have a conversation and to check in and see how everyone is doing. So if there's any last thoughts, please don't hesitate to contact me. If you don't feel like sharing on the group, please send me a message. I am here to support you, because at the end of the day, thank you, Sammy. It means a lot to me. At the end of the day, it's all about supporting our internal support systems and learning what they look like. Ali, it's been such a gift to have you here. And even though we haven't got to tea, it was tea with Jean online. So thank you to everyone. It's honestly, I cannot thank you enough. So if you have any questions, let me know. And I hope, Kandi Anahat, always, thank you. You cannot wait. Thank you for all of you for always supporting me and for being online. And yeah, let me know what makes you lose and win your power. And please share with me over the next week, over the next week and a half, what is topics that you need to speak about? What are things that are coming up for you? Because it's so important to make these Facebook Lives relevant and connecting it from multiple different angles. So if you say, Jean, we need a big time talk about a specific chakra specifically, or we really need to talk about what's happening collectively from a different perspective, or we need to, the world is your oyster. So think about what you need, and yeah, we'll go into it. So it was wonderful having tea with Jean. I hope you've had a really good cuppa, and I look forward to seeing you all soon. Okay, thank you everyone. Good night. Bye.